What's your thoughts on ARC player basically gator rolling Devontae Smith's ankle? I feel like you want me to answer that question that you've already answered the question for, dog. You spent $5 on that.
Hey, no, appreciate it. Gator rolled that dude's ankle.
I mean,
got it in one.
We saw it. You saw it. What do you want me to say about it? Except what everybody else has said about it. It's the same thing people are saying about Marco Wilson throwing his shoe or throwing the LSU player's shoe. Matter of fact, that actually does lead me into something. Ron, Ed Orgeron did his coaches conference today. The man said, all I want for Christmas is some shoes. I don't know why. LSU just, and they accuse me of taking taking shots at people, right? They accuse me of coming off the top rope for no reason. What Ed Orgeron ain't got nothing to gloat about except that game, and he is already going in.
You beat a number 6 University of Florida. This would be different if LSU had pulled one out against Coastal Carolina in the fourth quarter due to a shoe. But Florida, yeah, they could absolutely get a shoe dig in there. Good on Coach O, right?
Right. Yeah, well, all right.
I can't take up for Florida on this one.
Well,
right?
I mean, it's hard to take up for either one of them on this because, like, Dan Mullen gonna come out in his teleconference on Sunday and say Marco Wilson made a football move, throwing that shoe 20 yards downfield.
It was clown makeup.
Just putting on
an absolute tutorial.
Look, that's what I'm trying to get at here, right? Like when we make these jokes about this sport that I like, that I think is cool, that I also have to look dead in the eye and be like, you are unserious right now. You are an unserious sport. Like, yo, how do we determine the college football playoff national champion? Do we have a playoff where we have division title winners or conference championship winners that get to play against each other? You know, like the NFL or high school or FCS or any other major team sport? No. We got selectors. We got 11 selectors who get to designate using math or some other sort of poll and or formula who is the best team in college football. Well, they can't play each other. They can't play each other all the time. Man, you think every one of the 32 teams in the NFL play each other every year? Nah, dog. The best records get into this thing called a playoff, and we go into tournament round robin fashion. And now we got to talk about the unserious among us and when it's determined a conference championship because they need to get this money. I get that. I understand. But you can't expect me to take the Big 12 seriously when it's like, yo, in the event that Oklahoma or Iowa State can't play in the Big 12 championship game this Saturday, we're not going to just name Iowa State the conference champion, even though they are the 1 seed and they have won more games than anybody else this year. We're not going to do that. No. We're going to say if Iowa State or Oklahoma can't go, the team in third place gets to play for the Big 12 championship on Saturday, which is to say if Iowa State or Oklahoma have the COVID protocols preventing them from playing on Saturday in Jerry World, here comes Texas. Which also leads to this logical, if technically sound, but ridiculously without common sense, Baylor and Oklahoma State, or Baylor and Kansas, more to the point, Baylor and Kansas could play for the Big 12 championship if you just keep going down the list of dudes among this 10-team league that can't play. And Kansas, for those of y'all that don't know, went 0-9. 0-9. Lost their last game of the season to COVID. They were going to play Texas. And then, let me go on another scooter trail here. News came out today. Jim Harbaugh. What'd y'all do over the weekend, seeing as there was no Ohio State-Michigan game? Oh, you know, we were supposed to play on Saturday, but we had a really spirited practice on Sunday. Hold up, time out. What? You did what? I thought y'all told us that y'all had the COVID and y'all couldn't play on Saturday. We did. That's what happened, and that's what we told y'all. But you had enough to have a spirited practice on Sunday? You don't think that sounds sketch? You don't think that sounds shady? Next question. I mean, I'm making up the last 2 responses there, but everything up until we had a spirited practice on Sunday is legit and on the level and real. An unserious sport. I love it, but it's an unserious sport. And that's what I love most about it. But I love it being an unserious sport because we get to make these jokes about it. Otherwise, you will just get angry and mad, which is why I was talking about emotionally invested early on.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Okay. Because, like, I'm looking at this going, like, dude in here has just been spamming the comments going, what's your top 10? All the undefeated teams, then all the one-loss teams, then all the two-loss teams, then all the three-loss teams. That is how I would do my rankings because this is
in alphabetical order.
You know what I'm saying? Right? Like, it's ridiculous. Yo, man, Coastal Carolina doesn't need to be in the playoff. I understand why you say that. I understand your argument. I am not insensitive to the point that you're making because, as has been pointed out, everybody want to be Oklahoma. Everybody want to say they went to the playoff without ever acknowledging they gonna get boat raced in the playoff by the number one team. We have Oklahoma to show for this.
Please let Oklahoma end the season with a win.
Well, see,
please, just once.
That's the thing, though. They can, right? And most Oklahoma fans would tell you they don't want any part of the playoff. None. Zero. Zilch. Let somebody else go in there. We retooling for 2021 when I expect Oklahoma to actually be good enough to win a national championship. But my goodness, man, like, Texas A&M is like, no. We want in. You lost 52-17 to Alabama. You want a rematch? Yeah, we want a rematch. They ain't never been. They ain't never been in the playoff. And that's what I'm saying. Alabama would have no problem skipping it like they did last year if they're not good enough to make it. Why? Alabama's won 5 national championships in the last decade. Okay? Winning fatigue. Winning means you're kind of getting tired of winning. You lose your respect for winning. Then you have somebody like Oklahoma or say Washington 2016 who ain't won no national championship in decades, and they're like, yo, man, just a shot, any chance, we'll take any chance, which is the same thing as saying, I'm thirsty. I got something in this cup over here. It might be water. It might be gasoline. Do you still want this cup? Yes, because there's a chance that there's water in it. But you know what ends up being in there? Sewage, toxic waste. Like, and that's the thing though, right? Like, I think if we were having a 16-team playoff, Oklahoma would probably lose along the way. But Oklahoma would be like, we made the quarterfinals or we made the semifinals, maybe, right? Maybe.
But if this is like basketball, we hang up Elite Eight, Sweet 16, Final Four banners.
He's on my screen over here. That's why I'm pointing over here. But that also would mean that you have to change how people view the sport. And I'm the only person apparently that wants to change how the sport is actually done. Because I get into this conversation with the old heads all the time about they're not that good. Prove it. Scoreboard says they are. Scoreboard says they won every game. We know that Alabama would boat race them. Then put them up against Alabama. I don't want to waste that game. What do you mean waste that game? Who's going to beat Alabama this year? Somebody else is more deserving. How? They lost the game. They lost the game to Alabama. They lost the game. And round and round and round we go, right? Like that's where we're at. So and then we got dudes like Dabo Swinney out here talking about, oh, so we can just play 6 games, get in the playoff? It's a pandemic, dog. That you were getting to play a playoff at all. You know? Then again, Dabo came out here and compared surviving a pandemic to Normandy. Couldn't be me.